automobiles.
I could not imagine anything that I said or did to Anita Hill that could have been mistaken for sexual harassment.
He referred to the size of his own penis as being larger than normal, and he also spoke on some occasions of the pleasures he had given to women with oral sex.
So let me hear the story. What did you want to say?
Well, last month, as you mentioned, Mayor Dinkins nominated Randi Daniels to be deputy mayor for public and community affairs.
Right.
Job paid $112,000.
Right.
Decent job in New York.
Right.
But shortly after his name surfaced, Newsday and other newspapers in town published stories that alleged that 5 years ago, when Randi was press secretary to City Council President Andrew Stein, a woman in his office named Barbara Wood alleged that he sexually harassed her on the job and threatened to stymie her career, if she did not submit to his demands. Randi vehemently denied the charge. Mayor Dinkins, who initially knew about the allegation against Randi and went ahead with the nomination anyway.
Without investigating it?
No investigation other than to speak to Randi.
Right.
Even though he had nominated Randi after about 5 days of headlines, front page headlines, Randi withdrew the nomination and the mayor accepted it. Some people think he was run out of town on a rail without due process. Other people think he got what he deserved. I have a question for him, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question.
Wait, let him get to his question.
If I may.
What are you jumping like
My question to Randi is, he has told anyone who will listen over the last few weeks, and I've been in contact with him since this whole story broke, he's told anyone who will listen that A, he's innocent, and that B, that Barbara Wood is a liar.
Right.
So my question to him is, if that's true, if you really believe so firmly in your innocence, why did you quit? I mean, it seems in some people's minds.
Sounds like a very legitimate question.
In some people's minds, Judge Thomas got better treatment from George Bush than you got from Mayor Dinkins.
Right. That's the question.
Let me answer that. The political reality is that when you're under attack, with the intensity that I was under attack, it is impossible to survive politically. It's impossible to be effective because of the level of doubt that has been raised by the allegation.
That's why did Thomas stay in? And why did he? And why did he go for the job and get the job?
Very different situation. First of all, the two cases are dissimilar. Judge Thomas worked with Anita Hill in a private environment, okay, behind closed doors, where at least her case was plausible. My office was very small. There were 3 other people who worked in that office. There was no door. The press was in and out of it at any time. Council members are in and out of it at any time. Mr. Stein could walk in and out of it at any time because he had a door adjacent to the office. I can't recall any occasion I was alone with this woman. And the people who worked in the office with us, to a man who still worked there today, risked their jobs, contradicted their boss in public, and stated they saw no evidence of sexual harassment or any inappropriate behavior by me in the 2 years of reality.
Why did you withdraw?
Because it was impossible
Everything
to get...
you said supports your innocence. If you so firmly believe that, why lay down?
Wasn't it the fault
it's not
of
a
Mayor
question.
Dinkins
No.
who should not have appointed you
No.
and should have conducted an investigation,
No,
just
not.
as the
It was
Senate
not.
Judiciary Committee in Washington should have conducted an investigation of the charges against Judge Thomas?
Let
me tell you the difference between those situations. First of all, there were never any charges in this case. You cannot investigate
before the city council.
There was no
before the
charges.
president of the city council.
There was no complaint. It was only gossip chit-chat. You cannot investigate gossip chit-chat. Everyone says there should have been an investigation. An investigation of what? There was never any charges and no complaint.
An investigation of these women's charges. she doesn't have to be alone in the room with this gentleman. If he followed her into the subway, if he whispered sexual advances to her on the way to the subway, or even as she passed his desk, no one would know about it.
Okay,
the fact of the matter is that the mayor, the fact of the matter is that the mayor
Wait one second. Wait one second. Let us
he has done. If you are
We
familiar
can't,
with the case,
we can't talk together,
if
please.
you are familiar with the case, then if you've seen her televised interview, you will know that to this date she hasn't said what he did, when he did it, or where he did it. If you read the New York Times article,
please, let her
to
finish.
this date she has not said what he did, when he did it, or whatever. So that to this date she has not made any charges with regards to what he did.
Wait 1 second. Is that true?
She didn't make those
excuse
charges
me.
public. If you listen to the reporter's allegation, he said that the charges were there and someone else brought them up to the mayor.
Wait,
the fact is that the
excuse me.
mayor should have done the investigation.
Excuse me just 1 minute. I want to ask you a question. You're a newspaperman. You studied this whole thing. Do you remember whether there were specific charges before his nomination from a specific source, or were they just like she says, innuendo and conversation?
In 1985, according to several people in Andrew Stein's office, Barbara Wood did at the time, she's now a reporter for Channel 1, which is a cable news station, she did make verbal charges at the time against Randi Daniels that he allegedly sexually harassed her. There were charges back in 1985.
Now, why weren't they pursued? Why weren't they followed
According
up?
to Andrew Stein, and Randi Daniels disputes his explanation of this very vehemently, but according to Andrew Stein, Barbara Wood, the woman involved, asked that the allegations not be made public. She was not willing, while she made a verbal complaint...
Even if they weren't made public, why weren't they pursued? Privately.
According to...
Wait 1 second. 1 second, please.
According to Andrew Stein, she did not want him to take it any further.
Then why make an allegation that you don't want the person to take further? It's a stupid thing to say.
Very good question.
I accuse you of sexually harassing me, but as soon as somebody says, I want to do something about it, they don't take it any further, then what's my point?
From what we're able to tell, and she answered 2 interviews, one to her own station by a colleague, and one to the New York Times a few weeks after the thing broke. I think that from her statements that we've seen in the press and on the video, she clearly felt threatened, if you believe her, by Randi Daniels. She wanted some action to be taken. When she went to Andrew Stein, she was moved out of Randi Daniels' work area to another building. She then, I think a few months after that, left Andrew Stein's employ.
Can I respond to that, please?
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, what she said in the last interview was that once she told him no in that subway, he no longer made any sexual advancements. So if we can accept that portion of what she said, which I'm not inclined to accept anything she says, then there was no reason for her to go to Andrew Stein because she was no longer confronted with these unwelcome sexual advances. Right. So that her rationale that she went there so he would stop doesn't make sense.
Did you suggest any sex to her in the subway?
I never suggested any type of relationship with Barbara
Not even
Wood.
in the subway?
I never went to the subway with her. And
Why
so
don't
these
you take the
things
subway?
are verifiable. These things are verifiable. Barbara Wood initially said the sexual harassment took place in the office. Now she's got a problem because 4 people who worked with her say, no way. 2 women, 2 men. So then when she goes to the interview with the New York Times, she changes the story. She shifts the scene of the alleged harassment from a place where it can be verified to a place where it can't be verified. An imaginary walk to the subway, and everyone who knows me and worked with me every day knows that Barbara Wood always left the office 90 minutes before I did. My secretary stayed behind an hour after me, and there's not a single occasion in the 2 years I worked there, or in the 4 months she worked there, that I ever left at remotely the same time.
Let me ask you, I want to ask you a better question. I'll get to you in a minute. I want to ask you a better question. What right do you have to even assume that anything she says is true if she doesn't pursue it to the point of being able to prove it? Why isn't this man... Why isn't this man... Wait a second. I'll get to you in a second. Why shouldn't this man be innocent until proven guilty like anybody else? If she did not prove it adequately, why is this man presumed to be...
Let me answer that.
You have to assume that he's innocent if he resigns.
Let me
It's the other side of the coin.
A guy has a right to resign for any reason. Wait a second. A guy has a right to resign for any reason. You have no right to judge why he resigned. You only have a right to judge whether you prove the case against him. It's none of your business why he resigned.
And he was crude and low. And he also talked about things that were sexual that he and I could do.
Mr. Daniels came down to Andrew Stein's office last week and spoke to the deputy press secretary and asked him to deliver a message to me. The message was clear. The message was simple. Tell Maggie Payton that if she leaks anything about me to anyone, I will retaliate.
Mm-hmm. You hear that? Tell Maggie Payton.
I deal with morality every single day as a rabbi.
Right.
I heard a statement over there that bothered me to no end. Typical male response.
Yes. That's what the lawyer said.
You can be...
The lawyer said that, right.
...in a position of authority.
He's a very prominent attorney.
And anyone who wants to come and to undermine your position has to say sexual harassment. Now, why does he have to defend himself against everyone and anyone who wants to destroy him? Maybe he didn't want to get his family into a continued ruckus. Maybe he wanted to defend the mayor. He had his reasons for resigning, and he has a right to resign. But he also has a right to remain innocent until proven guilty. He was never proven guilty. Any woman sitting here can say anything about any man, and any man sitting here can say anything against any woman without any proof. And all of a sudden, if this person is important or significant, they are guilty in front of the entire TV media and radio media. And that is a crime. That is immoral.
Did you think you'd have to turn to a rabbi for help?
It's nice to have one every now and then.
Just to show you, the Gentiles are no good for you.
My rabbi. Let me just say this.
Yes.
Joe asked me why I stepped down, and I was not sufficiently clear in the answer. The answer was twofold. One, my family was under siege. Nothing in life is more important than my family. No job, nothing. The other reason I stepped down...
under siege? What was happening to them?
Journalists, they were at the height of this situation, there were 40 journalists investigating my background, calling friends all over the world who were calling me, asking me what's going on. Friends in Nigeria, friends in the Bahamas.
You got no friends in the neighborhood?
What? Even those. But the point is this. I did it to spare my family, and I also did it because I have great respect for David Dinkins. I thought he deserved better, and I didn't want to harm his administration. So I stepped aside and filed a lawsuit to pursue it in the court. That is why I did it. Now, you may not agree with it.
You might not agree with his
reason,
but I have to be honest with you. This doesn't in any way detract from the truthfulness of your response or create any new special doubts about you to me. But I really think that your strategy was not so intelligent. I don't want to become your advisor. One rabbi is enough for you. But I really think it was a stupid thing you did, and I say this with the highest respect. I say this with the highest... Please, I'm not finished yet, so I'm the star. I'll tell you why I think it's a stupid thing you did. Because Clarence Thomas wasn't hurt by taking the Supreme Court job after he proved his innocence to the acceptance of the majority of this country.
Well, then
Wait. I'm saying that why should you allow them to make you guilty by accusation? If you feel totally innocent of anything like it, and it's so outrageous and disgusting they should pick on you for nothing, why shouldn't you be willing to suffer the trauma of this experience and become a hit?
He's in a suffering the trauma. I am suffering the trauma. I'm suffering it every day.
But wouldn't you become a hit if you did take the job?
The issue is this. Very simple. The political price of fighting would have damaged the mayor, and I don't want to do that. I think he deserves better. And that's why I said...
You're entitled to your opinion. I don't think it hurt President Bush that Thomas eventually got the job, and I don't think it would have hurt Dinkins. Maybe it did. It's a matter of political opinion, and I shouldn't pretend that I have a better political acumen than you have. That Dinkins must. This is his business, so he might have a better political acumen.
There's a new McCarthyism now in this country, and Mr. Daniels
is this
a victim of that.
Wearing?
Is this? Yeah, I'm going to change my name to that guy who wears a skirt. Let's talk about more important things than what I'm wearing.
No, if I'm not too personal, why are you wearing the dress?
I'm trying to reshape masculinity, but I'm not here to talk about what I'm wearing. I'm
No.
talking about sexual harassment. That's much more important than what I wear.
Go ahead,
okay?
that's right,
There is a new McCarthyism in this country
Yes.
now, and Mr. Daniels is a victim of that, and it's important for me to say that it's not just Mr. Daniels, it's not just a political climate. There's a social climate now, and that any man accused of a sex crime is going to be in trouble. And I think we're witnessing an epidemic of false charges, of sexual harassment, child sexual abuse, and rape. And that epidemic is measured in terms of the suffering of innocent men and their families. Now, I just want to say one other thing about false accusation. I want people to understand. A false accusation is an act of violence. It is a weapon that some women use against men. It can destroy. I think it is the moral equivalent. I have men in my group who are here now who have, but I think it's the moral equivalent of attempted murder. And a woman who falsely accuses a man of a sex crime, it's like she took a loaded gun, pointed at him, and pulled the trigger. It's a very serious act, and the law should reflect that.
Right. He's 100% right. He's 100% right.
No, he isn't right, because I disagree. What about when there is a true incident of a woman being sexually harassed? And for a black woman, racially harassed, such as I have been. I've been a victim of racial and sexual harassment and discrimination of both during my employment at Chase Manhattan Bank. And I am in litigation to prove my case, okay?
Wait. I want to ask you a question. Why should this case be different than any other litigation in any other case? If you could adequately prove your case, nobody says he's against it. He said
that there's an epidemic of women going around saying that men are forcibly being accused of sexual harassment.
But the girl, because she made an accusation and she picked my photograph, I did 18 months in prison. She said the guy was 5'8", I'm 6'3". Said the guy was 160 pounds, I'm 240 pounds. I did 18 months in prison until Barry Slotnick and Mark Baker and Mike Tahibi from CBS got involved. Then people started getting interested and looking more into the case and flip the conviction around. Get me out of jail.
There is an incident where people are falsely accused, but there are incidents where women rightfully are justly telling the truth about being a victim of race and sex discrimination.
You are less likely to be believed the more false accusations there are. If we can reduce the level of false accusation, women will benefit from that as well as men.
One problem. Wait. I'm sorry. One situation doesn't relate in any way to the other. These are two totally unrelated situations. He's saying that because of this cacophony of accusations that mean nothing, that are baseless and fraudulent, this is disgusting. It's a disgusting thing that's happening. This has nothing to do with a real case. He's not saying that you should not accuse a person if it really happens.
He's saying that more and more women is ramping going out here accusing men of forceful.
That has nothing to do with your case. Look, I want to ask you a question.
But other women, I'm saying that there are women
Could you prove your case?
I'm in the process of proving my litigation.
I
will do it if take every breath.
If you can prove your case, the fact that other people are accusing other people falsely will not in any way relate to your problem.
I can't prove that, but I can prove my case.
Yes, it will.
To prove that women aren't
trying to
falsely
prove her
accusing.
case. I usually represent the Barbara Woods, not the Randi Daniels.
Right.
And let me tell you that every time I'm a lawyer, and every time a false accusation makes the press, it ruins the honest ones, and it makes my job harder for my meritorious plaintiffs. And this woman right here is an example of exactly what the problem is. When this man started talking about factors that he knew, and she doesn't know anything about it, and she's a lawyer, and she ought to be ashamed of herself, she said typical male response, which is the same as saying typical female response.
Let me defend myself. I stand by what I say. For time immemorial, women have been raped. Women have been assaulted, have been afraid to come forward. For the first time in history, women can come forward and say that what is being done is wrong. This man is innocent until he's proven guilty. Let him go into a court of law, as he has, and let it be so. Let a jury decide whether he's innocent or guilty.
So he's right. So what right do you have to make accusatory statements at a person? Because you said it's a typical male reaction.
That's it.
Innocent people don't have to suffer today for whatever crimes were committed years ago. This Newsday reporter saying to me that Dinkins should have looked into the accusations of Barbara Woods before he nominated him. But he told you, but the lawyer just told you that it was kind of babble going around the country without anything specific. There was no really documented accusation that anybody made.
We don't know who's telling the truth yet. I mean, we just don't know that yet.
Right.
But what we do know is that a year after the Anita Hill hearings, when Randi Daniels was nominated for the deputy mayor post, Mayor Dinkins asked about this accusation and did not stop the process at all. Learned on it, he says, on the day that Randi was nominated, and instead of saying, whoa, let's find out about this Stein. Let's see if there are any... What first deputy mayor
I picked up the call Andrew Stein. There was no... After the announcement office, and then member of the senior staff, which raised... They were...
Randy,
unavailable.
I don't think you can say that the administration...
Wait 1 second, I'll get to you in a second. In a second, please. I want to ask you a question. Don't be ashamed to tell us the truth here. Do you think Andrew Stein might have something to do with with a fake reason to do this?
Do I think?
Yes. You think this was a maneuver to embarrass Dinkins?
It's without question. Andrew Stein was involved in it. Bob Teague, Barbara Wood's uncle, was quoted on WINS News as saying he only responded to reporter inquiries after it was leaked from Stein's office because the reporters who called him told him that. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. He said it.
Mm-hmm. So you have no doubt that was the reason for it. Now, why would Stein, if he wanted to embarrass Dinkins and therefore you, how was he able to get to the lady, to Barbara Woods, to get her to do it? What was his influence over her?
Okay, let me respond to that. Excuse me. I have the facts. What you will find out is that Barbara Wood was prepared by a lawyer before she gave her statement. And the reason that I can say that so emphatically is because when Barbara Wood gave her statement, she gave her statement in such a way so that she would not be subject to a slander and libel suit. Because if you give opinion, that is not actionable. So that her failure to state what he did, she felt protected her against a slander and libel suit.
Yeah, but I understand. Wait 1 second, please. Please, I'm talking to you. Excuse me, this Yente's bullshit. Let me ask you a question. I understand the motivation. There's a political motivation that you ascribe to Stein. But why was he able to influence her? What would be her motivation to go into complicity with him on this situation?
The reason that she has a motive is because now this has been leaked that she made this allegation. She has to come forward to tell the public that at the time I did it 5 years ago, I was not lying, and so therefore she had to come forward now because her name was leaked. She says that she did not leak this information, but she has to defend herself because these are very serious allegations, as this man pointed out. When you make an allegation of sexual harassment, it's like pulling a gun. So that if she did not support her position, then her colleagues would look at her and say, why did you say this 5 years ago if it was not true?
I see. Where's
Why are employers, particularly the mayor of the city of New York, not taking these allegations seriously? Why do you
know that Barbara Wood was accused of making false accusations of other people in the past? Am I right?
Don't think, and he was accused of harassing other women.
Is this true or false? I have to find out from the newspaper man. Is that true? Was she accused of making false accusations of other people?
She's been accused by Randi Daniels of making false accusations.
Did you ever corroborate any of that?
I'm sorry.
Did you ever?
In the New York Times, though, she told the reporter about a false accusation. No, excuse me. She told the reporter about an allegation that she made against another colleague, and we hadn't even heard about that one, and that was in New York Times.
So in other words, you're trying to tell us that Newsday does not know what's going on, but Times does?
Your own editorial.
What's your opinion?
This is my opinion. The focus here today is totally wrong. Sexual abuse and sexual harassment have been prevalent in the society since the beginning of the society. Only now are women finally making charges, and that's a good thing. Now, why are we focusing on that very small minority of false charges?
Wait 1 second. 1 second, let her finish. Let her finish. She's entitled to finish her statement.
In the area of false allegations of child sexual abuse, it's 10%.
Telling me it's okay for men to 18 months?
Here is a man who told you. Wait a second.
does
There are two
anything-
separate issues here. We're not.
That's a terrible thing.
But you don't care about that, President. You don't care about that.
Worse than the 18 months you suffered are the decades that women have
Wait a
suffered.
second. That is the dumbest statement I ever heard on this show. That is the dumbest statement I ever heard on this show. You mean to tell me this man has to do 18 months for nothing because somebody else did it for decades? Is that why you have a right to take his life? How would you like to go 18 months into a jail for nothing because you were once persecuted? And wait a second. This in no way. I'm not trying in any way to a woman's rights. God bless the women of this country and give them every right to accuse the accuser if they're right, but it has nothing to do with protecting his rights. It's his rights, what's his rights? You have a right to destroy this man to protect somebody else. Son of a bitch.
Very quickly. Speaking of false accusations, it went
Wait
past...
1 second, I'll get to you next.
Speaking of false
This man
accusations,
makes more sense than everybody.
Speaking of false accusations, we just heard one. It slipped by the audience. I wanted to say it again. You said, I've been accused of harassing other women. On the basis of what? Who has?
I don't know.
No, you said it. You said it.
I said maybe
You did say it.
You did say that.
Wait 1 second. I'm the referee here.
The fact is that you are focusing on that which is not. I agree that these lives are important. Everybody's life is important. But there are thousands upon thousands of cases that go through the finest criminal justice system in the world, in this country. There are a few cases of falsehood.
Jackie, wait,
Don't
don't let her get away with that. She didn't answer the question. You just said that I was accused of harassing, maybe?
Maybe you were. No, but that's not the
No, you said it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you said it. You said it. You said it. Now, either prove it right now or retract it.
I'm not retracting anything. I'm not saying anything. What I am
No, that is what you said.
You did say that. You did say that. And I want to tell you the truth. I'm embarrassed that you're Jewish, I'll be honest. Yes, darling.
I feel that we're making another assumption, which I don't think we should make, which is that Barbara Woods could not be telling the truth. Unfortunately, she's not here today, and I feel a little bit, I felt it's difficult to pick on her today. She's not here, and I would just like to point out to everyone in this audience that she has nothing financially that we can prove to gain by this. So what, apart from the truth, would be...
That is untrue.
That's a
fledgling, little-known personality.
Nobody is accusing her or attacking her. It's her business and her moral responsibility to prove her case, otherwise to keep her mouth shut. That's the point. What do you say? Why not?
Because I've been sexually harassed quite a few times, and I kept my mouth shut because I had no proof, and I had no one to tell that I felt was going to believe me to do anything about it. So I shut up, and I said nothing for many, many years till I was in therapy, and I spoke about it. And then it was too late. So what do I do?
What are you saying? Are you saying we should give up the whole system of our country, and we should give up everybody's constitutional rights to be proven to be innocent until proven guilty? What if you can't prove any case? Should a person go to jail for any case somebody else can't prove? Why should this be an exception to the rule of law? Why? Why should this be an exception to the rule of law? I'll get to you next. I'm sorry.
I think what we have here is a more fundamental problem. It seems that not only are women accusing men falsely, in some kinds there's merit to it, but people are accusing, for instance, police officers. There seems to be a system whereby if someone has a problem with someone, they now want to turn the tables and now charge the individual. I was asked to come here because the gentleman that sits next to me is a police officer from Newark. He was charged in a 14-count indictment a year and a half ago. He was suspended for the job without pay for a year and a half. He was accused of brutally beating someone with his pistol whipping 5 individuals. When he came to me and the PBS retained me to represent his interest, it was determined that the individual who alleged that his nose was broken had a car accident 10 days before that. I had to get court orders to have documents released from doctors who were not giving them to me because ultimately he didn't even have a nose that was broken.
So he did all of this in retaliation because he was stopped. His ego was affected by it. And he charged this man, and he was indicted by a grand jury in 14 counts. He was facing 20 years in jail.
Did you wind up going to jail at
No.
all?
All
you got away
13 of the counts.
Did you really break his nose? I know exactly
13
the
of the
point.
counts were dismissed by the prosecutor,
right.
And the 14th count was downgraded to a disorderly persons offense. He's now back on the job. We got him all his money back, and he's now just started a new. And as a representative for a lot of police officers,
Were you able to sue them for wrongfully doing this then?
Well, we could have, but see, there's a bigger problem. What we have to do is now have the prosecutors and attorney generals, when they see that individuals went before a grand jury and perjured themselves and lied, and now they dismiss those charges, go after the individuals who in fact made the false allegations and charge them with the perjury. And what you're going to have is you're going to have the false allegations being falling by the wayside, and the true ones will come to bear. And whoever is
why
aggrieved
is there
will
a
be able
system
to
right
be,
now to
benefited.
punish? Why is there a system right now to punish the people who've made blatantly false accusations?
There is a system.
Right.
It's not being utilized because what happens is generally it's one word against the other person's word. So what they do is let the court air it out, and then if somebody's found not guilty or it's dismissed, everyone goes home. But the problem is because we're avoiding that issue, we are now causing the fueling of the false allegations to come. So we do have to take some affirmative steps to now say to someone, look, if you want to charge someone, that's fine. You have a right to do so. Don't try them in the media. Give them their benefit of the doubt. Let them go into court. But if it's determined that the allegations were totally without merit, we're now coming after you.
But there's another problem here. They should go after the one who did this, who created false allegations, that he should be punished. But
That's
besides that, the police department itself should never have a system where somebody is suspended or punished before there's any proof. What?
It's now changed because of Kyle Hall.
Because of him and because I just said it.
That's right. The police director has now changed that system.
They did change
the
system. This man, in certain ways, will now have an image around himself, a kind of a suspicion surrounding him by people who will enjoy believing that there is something wrong with this man in terms of sexual harassment. Why should he have had to live through this trauma, and why should it have been announced in the press? Why should it have been announced in the press? I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. That's right. You're in a lot of trouble now because I'm going to wrap you right in the mouth. Why should the press even announce it?
I think we need to remember that
Randy
Daniels,
Why should they have a right to announce it?
The press has come under attack from this gentleman from you just now. Randy Daniels was not running for dog catcher when these allegations were printed. You have to remember he was up for a deputy mayor job, city of New York, public job, taxpayer money. I think the press.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Before there was any substance or proof to any of these allegations, why should this be a major story in any paper? Anybody could accuse you of anything.
Because we live in a country where the First Amendment is important. This is free speech, and the public has a right to know.
Why should... Wait 1 second. 1 second here.
Let me make a didactic statement. Let me make a didactic statement, please. An allegation in itself translates in a court of law into sworn testimony. That sworn testimony can put you and has put innocent people behind bars, such as Richard Chilingari and this person who was trying to speak a little while ago. I've written 9 editorials regarding the Richard Chilingarian case. I myself have been accused. I taught at Queensborough Community College as an adjunct lecturer for 12 years. In 1989, I was accused by my girlfriend's daughter of sexual molestation. This happened, she says, in 1984. Interestingly enough, it happened, I was accused, and I was charged immediately after we had her boyfriend arrested. In other words, my girlfriend's daughter's boyfriend. We had him arrested. Immediately, I was charged. All charges were dropped, but I've lost my job at the college, although they use another pretext. They're telling another story. As a matter of fact, 3 stories, different stories, entirely different stories, were circulating. Okay? I'm very familiar with the Chilingarian case. There are other cases.
If the charges were dropped, why did the college do this to you?
Because there's that smell, there's that air, and they don't need that kind of a problem.
I'm looking for an honest attorney willing to take on the state of New Jersey. A lot of these people here I helped out. My little 2-year-old baby fell off the bed. We weren't even in the room. He broke his leg. We went to the hospital. He was diagnosed with having a problem with his neck, not his leg. We then brought the baby back the next day because I saw he couldn't walk. And they accused us of child abuse because they misdiagnosed. Then DIFUS came in, Department of Family Services, and accused me of child abuse and my wife of child abuse. But I've got a better one. They immediately dropped the charges, but I have a better one for you.
Did you suffer for it?
Yes, because there's always that taint. And not only that, this is my child. My child was operated on 1 hour after it was diagnosed that it had a broken leg, and immediately there are people with badges accusing me of having hurt my baby. My wife is crying, and they have no compassion. And I'm a police chaplain, and that didn't matter either. But there's a better part to this. I then went looking for an attorney to sue the state of New Jersey. Nobody will take the case. There's not one attorney, but you can't make any money. And not only that, you can't sue DIFUS because they can't be sued.
What does DIFUS mean?
The Department of Family Services of New Jersey.
Right.
They are totally immune. The doctor is immune. Everyone is immune. I have to suffer. My wife has to suffer. Angela has to suffer.
Who's Angela?
This young lady here, my student at Rutgers University has to suffer. All these people have to suffer, and the state of New Jersey does what it wants. The governor, Florio, called me to apologize. I asked him to look into it. Did he? The answer is no. We then called, here's the biggest farce of all. My assemblyman who is here, that hero, that wonderful man, called for hearings in the state of New Jersey. You know how they did the hearings? The papers carried the information 48 hours before. It was held during the day, so that anybody who works, which are most of these poor people who can't defend themselves, could not attend. No attorney wanted to take the case, and every single person who got grant money from DIFUS, I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars, they were there. That tells you about the system. That tells you about the state of New Jersey.
Wait a second. I'm sorry. A lot of attacks were made on this lady. I want to give her a minute to change.
A lot of attacks have been made on the system, the judicial system in this country. It's the finest in the world. And if, unfortunately, there are a few cases that slip through the cracks, we live.
Let her finish, please. Let her finish her statement.
We live in a system. We live in a country.
Let her finish. She has a right to finish. Please, I'll wrap you right in the mouth. Let her finish.
We live in a country where we can all sit tonight and criticize each other, and no one is going to hurt us. This is a wonderful free country with a fabulous system of laws, and for a few cases, we shouldn't denigrate the entire system.
Good.